Hello everybody, Tajri the Guy 3 here, and welcome back to Fanfic Pokemon Universe, the fanfic series that I made of the Pokemon Universe, and it has 100 episodes, and right now we're doing a review of episode 20. And this episode is titled Pichu's Power Plant Panic. Try saying that 5 times fast. So this episode basically begins with our heroes resting. They're resting in an open field, and Trent basically wants to get straight on moving to Zion City. Luna tells him to can it because they've been walking for a long time. They were traveling really far to Zion City, and they decided to just take a breather. All of the Pokemon are in the field as well, and they're all pretty much sleeping or well rested. But because of this, Pichu and Magnemite both feel a little bit of a shock. Pichu feels the shock coming from his cheeks, and Magnemite feels it coming from his magnets. And when they feel the shock, they immediately start getting very frantic, and they head towards Trent and Coda, and Magnemite pushes Coda in his back, and Pichu pulls at Trent's leg. Luna states that they're trying to tell them something, or something is amiss, and only the electric type Pokemon can sense it. So when Pichu and Magnemite run off, Coda and Trent go to follow suit. When they go to follow suit, they end up seeing 2 Pokemon knocked out towards the power plant. Well, these 2 Pokemon are Plusle and Minun. When Luna, Trent, and Coda take in Plusle and Minun and heal them up using potions, they try to figure out exactly what's going on. They try to figure out why they were so injured in the first place. Immediately then, a new person comes in and basically explains the entire situation as to what was going on. Someone walks up, and his name is Andy. Andy is known as a Pokemon scientist, and he studies in Pokemon environment philosophies and the migrational patterns of Pokemon, how Pokemon basically react to their environment. So when he explains that the Plusle and Minun were previously attacked by Pokemon that were in the power plant, and they've ran out of energy because of it, he explains even further as to why that's the case. Apparently in this area there's a power plant known as Power Plant 43. It's an old abandoned power plant that was used frequently to power nearby cities, but as things have changed, that power plant became obsolete and got shut down for a newer power plant, and this one was shut down. However, electric Pokemon decided to use the excess electricity around it to thrive, and thus there's a lot of electric Pokemon that live in Power Plant 43. However, the problem then arises when Andy explains that there is another person that's a scientist much like him, who is his sister, known as Andrea. Now, Andrea is an environmentalist scientist as well. However, she likes to use energy resources in order to fuel things so that they can better mankind, which is all nice said and done until we find out the methods that she uses in order to get the results that she wants. Turns out that Andrea decided to take a trip down to Power Plant 43 in order to utilize its excess electricity in order to drain each of the Pokemon living there from using their electricity in order to power up her machine. A machine that was able to process a new form of energy source that can make things a lot more efficient for mankind, but it comes at a price of draining the Pokemon to near-death status. Obviously, our heroes get upset by this, and Andy asks that he wants to try to go and stop Andrea's evil plans of draining the Pokemon of their energy. Luna and Coda wholeheartedly agree, but Trent wants to continue his travels so that he can head towards Zion City to get his 3rd badge. Luna tells him that they should go ahead and help because Plusle and Minun basically begged Pichu and Magnemite for their help, and it would be rude for them to turn it down. Also, in addition, Andrea's plans are just no good. Trent does see a form of respect out of this, considering that he does pull pranks, but he feels like draining Pokemon of their energy is crossing the line. So he decides to go ahead and be aboard the whole helping crew. The problem that Andy couldn't stop Andrea sooner was because Andrea is at Power Plant 43, which is guarded by a large amount of Zubats on the outside of the power plant. So he would need some assistance from Pokemon trainers in order to help him inside. Then, once he's inside, he can go ahead and reroute the machine and turn it off so that it can stop draining electricity from the other Pokemon inside of the power plant. But in order to get in, obviously, he's going to need some help. And this is where our heroes come in. When our heroes approach the power plant, they all end up using their Pokemon. Trent uses Pichu respectively, Cody uses Magnemite, and Luna uses Misdreavus, and they all end up attacking the Zubats and fighting them off. They're able to get inside easily. At that point, however, there are more Zubat and Golbat that back up and attack as well. It's at this point that Luna and Cody decide to go ahead and take the large array of Zubats and Golbats, especially considering that Magnemite has access to Flash, which gives Coda and Magnemite an advantage against a large amount of the Zubats. It's up to Trent and Pichu in order to go inside and basically fight off against Andrea so that they can turn the machine off. Once Pichu, Andy, and the Plusle and Minum go into the power plant 43, they end up coming face to face with Andrea, and Andrea quickly retaliates. She explains that the reason that she wants to do this is to benefit mankind, and that they're very stupid in order to interfere with her plans. Andy states that this is crossing the line, and hurting Pokemon or people in order to get the results that you want is no way in order to come at this. Even scientists have their own morals. So when Andrea thinks that all of this talking is foolish, she ends up having her Skunk Tank fight off against Trent's Pichu. Trent and Pichu end up having a fight against Skunk Tank and Andrea, and for the most part it pretty much looks like Skunk Tank all but has the advantage. Pichu dodges a couple of Fury Swipe attacks here and there, however Skunk Tank ends up surprising Pichu with a Poison Gas attack. It also knows Flamethrowers. Well, and yes, I checked. Skunk Tank can use Flamethrower as a legitimate attack. It's also pretty interesting. Skunk Tank, the way I wrote him out in Pokemon Universe, is able to use attacks not just from its mouth, but, you guessed it, from its derriere. So it often ends up using Flamethrower, which Pichu dodges, but is unable to dodge the Poison Gas when Skunk Tank makes an immediate roundabout face and thus gets hit. However, Pichu does try to counter the first one with Poison Gas, but the next attack ends up taking Pichu by surprise. It's clear here that Pichu has a large disadvantage against Skunk Tank, and it's just an overall stronger Pokemon than Pichu could possibly hope to handle. Skunk Tank is about to finish Pichu off with one final Fury Swipe attack, but Trent ends up blocking the attack. Trent takes the hit instead and gets hit in the back by the Fury Swipe attack. Trent even considers switching Pokemon earlier in that battle, however Luna ends up coming into the power plant and telling him not to do it. Trent is about to choose Noctowl in the argument stating that Noctowl knows Psychic type attacks and thus it will be a better fight. However, Luna ends up stopping him and stating that Pichu is fighting for all of the electric Pokemon that are in the power plant and doesn't want to give up even if the odds are against him. Trent respects Pichu's vow to keep fighting, so he decides to fight with Pichu and states that it's Pichu's fault that Trent even was able to start a Pokemon journey in the first place, and thus he'll never give up on Pichu. Because of this, Trent holds Pichu tight while protecting him, and Pichu feels this love that Trent has for Pichu, and this allows Pichu to evolve into Pikachu. When Pichu ends up evolving into Pikachu, the battle obviously makes a big turn. Pikachu even has more access to different attacks. Pikachu dodges a lot of the Fury Swipe attacks quickly by learning its new move, Agility, and it replaces Headbutt for a more powerful attack known as Slam. So Pichu's able to use its tail in order to slam, and it was able to dodge Poison Gas even in mid-air thanks to Agility, because Pikachu is so much faster than it was as a Pichu. In addition to all of this, the battle basically boils down to one last giant strike. Andrea tells Skunk Tank to end up using Flamethrower in combination with the Fury Swipes, while Pikachu counters with Slam, and the two are pretty much evenly matched, with Pikachu having a slight disadvantage. It looks like all hope is lost for Pikachu even after its newly evolved form. However, Plusle and Minum come in and they end up using Helping Hands as a way to help out Pikachu, because Pichu and Magnemite helped Pichu out before. So, because Pikachu has that extra oomph in its attacks thanks to the Helping Hand, Pikachu is able to overcome Skunk Tank and easily defeat it with the Slam in combination with the Thunder Shock attack. This causes Skunk Tank to fall back and faint on top of Andrea, and the two are fainted together. After that, Andy is able to go in and completely shut down the power plant 43 and stop the machine that was draining all of the electricity from each of the Pokemon that reside in the power plant. They basically save the day, and Officer Jenny is quickly called. Trent hides behind Luna because Officer Jenny is there, but Andrea is taken away. She makes her last remarks that the heroes are fools for doing what they did, and they basically set humankind back several years because of this. And Andy comes back by stating that even scientists have their own morals, and this is sickening. After that, Andy thanks the others and vows that he'll stay at the power plant just to inspect things and make sure that the electric Pokemon are able to thrive really well in the power plant. Our heroes basically say goodbye, and Trent looks at Pikachu and they both have a high five. They both vow that they'll get even stronger, and they're glad that they were able to have a bond that makes them grow enough in order to defeat Andrea in her skunk tank. Luna and Coda congratulate Trent and Pikachu on the new evolution, and the two walk very triumphant headed towards Zion City. I gotta say, when I made this episode, I didn't know which way it was going to go exactly when it came to the plot. I knew there was going to be Plusle and Minum, I knew that there was going to be a power plant, and I knew that Pichu was going to evolve. I just didn't know exactly how I was going to glue it all together. Also, it is fun to note that I had Andrea and Andy study from Professor Doku, which is the scientist in Zion City that holds a very important role, but we'll get to that later. Long story short, he also said to tell them to say hi whenever he meets up with Professor Doku, and our heroes vow that they will. It's really just something interesting to note that I point out when Trent's argument for switching out to Noctowl is stating that Noctowl knows psychic moves and thus will have an advantage against Skuntank. Now, yes, I am aware that Skuntank is part dark and is unaffected by psychic type attacks, but I did that as an intentional mistake. The reason I have Trent say that is because he's still learning the types. He's still learning how to battle. And let's be honest, how many of you all have played Pokemon and not gotten all of the typings correct or made a slight miscalculation on a typing before you ended up knowing how the typings work completely by looking at a chart or playing the game all the way? I wanted Trent to make this little verbal hiccup just to show that, yeah, while he does get how typings work and he's getting smarter at Pokemon battles, he's still not completely knowledgeable about all of the typings or how things will work. Yes, he knows that Psychic is good against Poison, but what he doesn't know is that Dark is immune to Psychic. Or else he does know, but he just forgot at that point. I mean, come on. A lot of us have been in Pokemon battles where we made a crucial mistake and thought that a Pokemon was a certain type, and turns out it wasn't, or it was a certain type and caused it to be resistant to something that you thought would be super effective. Hell, I look at Delmise and I get confused by that all the time. I constantly forget that it's a grass type and a ghost type. But anyway, obviously this episode had very large importance. Pichu not only evolved into Pikachu, but learned a few new moves in its skill set. So that'll definitely be helpful towards Trent in his road from getting stronger. He has 2 evolved Pokemon now, Noctowl and Pikachu. His Eevee's still an Eevee, but we'll get to that when we get to that, obviously. So, with that all being said, I think it was a very interesting episode that gets straight to the point, and I love pretty much how I utilized Plusle and Minum's helping hand in order to help Pikachu assist in the battle against Skuntank, because at last minute, it was a brief decision that I decided to make when I realized, oh yeah, that's right, Plusle and Minum are in this episode. This is how I can utilize them. So yeah, with that said, it was very fun writing this episode, and it's finally good to see that Pichu has caught up in terms of Torchic with Combuskin. Now Trent's Pichu is a Pikachu. So with that being said, the next episode is episode 21, Scorching Showdown, Cyndaquil versus Houndour. With that said, I'll see y'all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.